Keek on the mic, keek on the mic. Keek on the mic, keek on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. So, as most Bears fans know, we are getting very close to the new league year, which means the NFL draft and free agency is slowly approaching. Obviously, this will be GM Ryan Poles' very first free agency and draft as the Chicago Bears GM, and I decided to do a little mini series over the next couple of weeks leading up to free agency of the players that the Chicago Bears should target at each position group of need. So today on the podcast, I'm going to start off with the 5 offensive linemen the Chicago Bears should target once free agency officially begins in the new league year in the next couple of weeks. So, like always, I'm going to give you guys my 5 players, starting with the offensive line. And like always, make sure you guys comment down below in the comment section and let me know if the players that you would want the Bears to pick up in the free agency period. And just comment on the guys I have on my list as well. So here we go. And I also want to remind you guys that this is not going to be in any particular order. I'm just listing out 5 different names. So don't bash me in the comments saying, well, I would put this guy at number 1 or put this guy at number 5. It's in no particular order. It's just me listing off 5 guys. If you want to put them in order from the top to the least, whatever you want to do, that's fine with me. But I just want to make sure you guys know that this is not in any order. So starting out with number 1 on my list, I have center Ryan Jensen from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let me tell you something, guys. This would be an absolutely massive move for the Chicago Bears offensive line, Chicago Bears offense, and Justin Fields. The main goal is to make sure Justin Fields remains upright, and Jensen has been an anchor, an absolutely monster for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line. Jensen, it stands at 6'4", 320 pounds. And like I said, it's just a straight-up monster mauler at the center position. He plays with a nasty edge for the center position, which I like. I think sometimes you need offensive linemen to show a little bit of anger, a little bit of nastiness when they're blocking for their running backs or their quarterback. He's a proven anchor for a pretty solid offensive line for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the last couple of years, especially blocking for Tom Brady. He's been in the league for a while, and he's a Super Bowl champion, so that's also an added benefit when you look at Ryan Jensen. I think Ryan Poles knows the assignment. He knows what he needs to do in order to keep Justin Fields upright, making sure he's able to make all the throws. And I believe it starts at the center position. Obviously, when you look at the Bears center this past season, it was Sam Mustipher. I'm not saying Sam Mustipher is bad, but he just wasn't the best option for center for the Chicago Bears. Sam Mustipher can easily become back as a backup for a Ryan Jensen type of player. But I think adding a guy like Ryan Jensen and what he's been able to do in the league since he's entered would be an absolutely huge upgrade for this Chicago Bears offensive line. So number 2 on my list is guard Lincoln Tomlinson from the 49ers. He's 29 years old. He stands at 6'3", 320 pounds. Tomlinson has been a very consistent force for the 49ers offensive line. When you look at the San Francisco 49ers, what they're able to do really well is run the football. There are some games where Jimmy Garoppolo will throw for 120 yards. And you know why? It's because their running backs are getting it done, and that has a lot to do with how good their offensive line is. They are winning games by just running the football, and Lincoln Tomlinson has been a consistent force for that 49ers offensive line. You know, after a slow start to his career, Thomason has really developed in a high-level starter for the San Francisco 49ers and has really turned his career around. When you look at the Chicago Bears offensive line, when you really try to dive into it, the Bears are actually in a pretty good spot to really turn this offensive line around this offseason. You look at it, and you have your 2 young tackles in Larry Borom and Tevin Jenkins. Obviously, you can move them around. You can obviously decide to re-sign James Daniels. I'm not sure what's going to happen with him. But if you re-sign James Daniels and you have your 2 young tackles, you may only really need to focus on a tackle. I mean, not a tackle, but a center and another guard to really have a pretty decent offensive line to block for Justin Fields. And we really only have to focus on the interior offensive line, which is an added benefit for Ryan Poles. Lincoln Tomlinson, I think, would be an excellent add for this Chicago Bears offensive line. I feel like he's a valuable asset in the run game and a strong pass protector who has plenty of good football left in the tank. And I think the Chicago Bears would be lucky to have a guy like Lincoln Tomlinson. Number 3 on my list is guard Connor Williams of the Cowboys. He's 24 years old, stands 6'5", 320 pounds. Williams was a top 50 pick in the 2018 NFL draft, and honestly was a full-time starter at left guard right out of the gate in week 1 of his rookie season. He's has put together some pretty good years. This year, not so much. He kind of struggled this year, so I think he may need a change of scenery. I have a feeling that the Cowboys will let him go, but he has put together some solid years, and I think he has gotten better each season at his craft, earning career-high marks in pass blocking and run blocking. So I think after a rough year, especially after the year he had this year, I think it would be an added benefit not only for him but for the Chicago Bears to bring him in and let him compete maybe for the starting guard position. And if he doesn't win the starting guard position, I think he would add really good depth to the Chicago Bears offensive line. Number 4 on my list, and honestly, this is one of my favorite guys hitting the free agent market, is tackle Tackleron Armstead of the Saints. He is 30 years old, stands at 6'5", 304 pounds. And I know what you guys are probably thinking. I'm saying a lot of guys that are in their 30s already. I think it would be smart for Ryan Poles to add a mixture of veteran presence to the offensive line, and that goes for any position. Adding a little bit of veteran presence to the position, and also adding young guys that can learn from these veterans, right? So obviously Ryan Jensen is 30 years old, and Tackleron Armstead is 30 years old as well, but they both have tremendous amount of experience and are some of the best at their position in the NFL. Armstead, like I said, is one of the best linemen available in this free agency period. And he has also been regarded as one of the best tackles in football since he was drafted back in 2013. Has been a consistent force for the New Orleans Saints at left tackle. And left tackle is really, really important for Justin Fields. Left tackle is probably one of the most important positions for every single franchise in the NFL. So obviously I know we have Larry Borom and Tevin Jenkins that we could put at left tackle, but wouldn't it be nice to bring in a veteran left tackle that has been doing it at a consistently high level for years and be able to shuffle a guy like Larry Borom to guard, or Tevin Jenkins, put him at right tackle where he's more comfortable. That's where he played in college. I think that would benefit him as a player. So you bring in a guy like Armstead, has been doing it at a consistent level for years and years, and I think this would be a huge signing for the Chicago Bears. Armstead has only, check this out, Armstead has only given up 8 sacks over the last 4 seasons. So let's be honest, Armstead would be a major upgrade at the left tackle position. I think the tough thing that we have to really look at in this instance is I don't know if we would be able to get Ryan Jensen and Armstead. I think if it came down to it, I think we would have to choose between one or the other. I'm not sure which one you guys would choose, but if it was up to me, I think I would be leaning more towards Ryan Jensen because I think we need a center more than we need a left tackle. And I know that may sound crazy, so let me know down below what you think. Would you go with Ryan Jensen or would you go with Tackleron Armstead? I think they would both be excellent options in order to get to the Chicago Bears offensive line to the next level. And the 5th final guy that I have on my list that I think the Chicago Bears should target is tackle Orlando Brown of the Chiefs. Obviously, this one can be tricky because I think the Chiefs will most likely franchise tag Orlando Brown. He's 25 years old, stands at 6'8", 344 pounds. So he's an absolutely beast of a man, obviously. But I think the Chiefs will end up franchise tagging him. But if he does happen to hit the free agent market, I think the Chicago Bears should jump all over him. Obviously, I believe Orlando Brown came via trade last season when Ryan Poles was part of the Kansas City Chiefs. So I would expect if Orlando Brown does hit free agency, that Ryan Poles will probably be all over Brown and try to get him to Chicago. I think Brown would also be an upgrade at the tackle position. He's been doing it at a pretty high level for the last couple of seasons. He's young, so that's also an added benefit. So when you really look, you have some options, right? So if Orlando Brown hits the market, of course you have Armstead. Then you can really think, oh, you know what? I may just go younger. Obviously, Armstead is an excellent talent, but now you have the option to go with a younger 25-year-old tackle in Orlando Brown, and that's if he hits the market. So I think it would be smart for the Chicago Bears to really go after Orlando Brown, to really upgrade that left tackle position for the Chicago Bears, because center and tackle are the most important positions on the offensive line, and the Bears desperately need to upgrade those positions this offseason. So those are the 5 offensive linemen that I feel that the Chicago Bears should consider signing when free agency begins in March. So like I said, how do you guys feel about my list? And who would you target if you were in Ryan Poles' shoes to bring in to help this offensive line for the Chicago Bears reach the next level? Because at the end of the day, Ryan Poles said it straight up. He said the weak point of this football team is offensive line. He's not shy about that. So I have a feeling that Ryan Poles is going to be a very aggressive person going in this free agency period, and to ensure that this offensive line gets a lot better. So it's going to be interesting to watch. I'm excited to see what he does with the offensive line. I'm excited to see what he does with this entirety of the roster. So let me know down below who you would want the Bears to target for new offensive linemen for this Chicago Bears offensive line. Like I said, in the coming weeks before free agency starts, I'm doing a little series of the different position areas of need. So obviously today I started with the 5 offensive linemen I would target. My next podcast episode, I'm going to do the 5 cornerbacks that the Chicago Bears should target in free agency. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all that content coming your way right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms. Make sure you share this episode of Kick on the Mic with every single Bears fan you know. But other than that, I'll be back for an all-new Bears podcast right here on Kick on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic.